I'm Jared from SoundGuitarLessons.com. We're going to keep this nice and simple today. We're just going to talk about harmonic minor scale and the chords that come from it. This is part of a series that I've been doing for a while, and we've covered so much good stuff. This will make sense on its own, but if you've been following along any of the other lessons, this will fit right in very nicely. Basically, chords come from scales, and so when you have a major scale, you grab certain notes from that scale to make the chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 3, 5 makes a chord, or 1, 3, 5, 7 from that makes a chord. And so you can just do that with any type of scale. And there are a few other common types of scales that chords are built from. Harmonic minor scale is one of them. Melodic minor scale is another one that's even a little weirder, and I'm going to cover that next week in my next video. But let's just go through it in the most kind of straightforward, simple way, because you can get very complicated with talking about harmonizing other types of scales. Harmonic minor, melodic minor, things go very deep. It's a deep subject, but I want to give it to you in the most straightforward way that I think on the guitar. I talked about this with the major scale and with the minor scale earlier in this series, and that's that we want to be able to think of something at least along one string. So the harmonic minor scale, almost like the natural minor scale, but with one note difference. It would be very helpful to really grasp this stuff if you know the chords, and if you know the natural minor scale and the chords of the natural minor scale. So check out the episode that I did on the chords of the minor scale to get a foundation for this. You can do this without knowing that too. So here's the harmonic minor scale. It's 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, and instead of flat 7, we have major 7 or raised 7. 1, 7, flat 6, 5, 4, flat 3, 2, 1. So that's the only difference, just that one note. Let's go ahead and harmonize this. First, we're going to start by just looking at our chords in the minor scale. Now, the chords in the minor scale are something that I recommend you have memorized. That the 1 chord is minor, the 2 chord is diminished, the flat 3 chord is major, 4 chords minor, 5 chords minor, and flat 6 is major, flat 7 is major, and the 1 chord back at the top is minor. So, I'm starting with that because we know that this harmonic minor scale has just one note different. And that different note is the 7. So instead of flat 7, there's a major 7. So we can just think of numbers now and think, all right, well, what chord is going to be affected? Anything that touches the 7, right? So we're going to do triads and we're going to do 7th chords through the harmonic minor scale in this location off that first fret on the 5th string along the string. So doing triads, the first chord is going to be 1 and 3 and 5 of the scale. That doesn't touch the 7, so it's going to be the same. Cool. The 1 chord in the harmonic minor scale is minor. The 2 chord would be 2, 4, 6 of the scale. Still doesn't touch the 7. Still going to be diminished, so it's the same. Okay, the 3 chord of the scale, the 3 chord of harmonic minor is going to be, or of any scale, is going to be 3, 5, and 7 of that scale. Now we touch the 7, right? So here's kind of the weird part. 3, 5, and 7 is, those are the numbers of the parent scale that build the 3 chord, 3, 5, 7. If you call them chord tones of the 3 chord, then it's 1, 3, 5 of the 3 chord. So 3, 5, 7 of the parent scale is 1, 3, and 5 of the 3 chord. And so with the graphics on the screen, that should help see it line up a little better, because I know that can be quite confusing. But now we know, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5. Oh, it's the 5 of the 3 chord that gets moved up. That's what we have to know. So we usually play this major chord if we know where our 5 is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I talk all about that in this series, how to find notes in chords. Well, we raise that up. Oh, interesting sound. That's an augmented chord. That's a major chord with a sharp 5. 1, sharp 5, 3. And this is how I recommend playing it for this exercise. Minor, 2 chord is diminished. 3 chord is, wow, it sounds really cool. It sounds so unusual and so unique. We haven't touched on anything like that so far. So this is where that chord type, one of the places in an augmented chord can come from, is being the 3rd chord of harmonic minor. So is the 4 chord going to be manipulated? Well, 4, 6, 1. No, 4 chord is going to be the same because it doesn't touch 7, right? Okay, how about the 5 chord? 5, 7, 2. Yes, definitely. So 5, 7, 2. Okay, that's 1, 3, 5. That means the 3rd note of the 5 chord is going to go up a half step. If this is very, very hard to follow along, if you were like so lost at me talking about that, it's because I've talked a lot about it in this series, and it's quite challenging for me because I know sometimes I want to provide as much as I can in one lesson. I also don't want to repeat myself every time because that's the point of doing a series. I also don't want it to be, just required that you have to know everything from before, because that'll leave people in the dust. So trying to find the balance between those two things, but it should be kind of exciting, right? I like this idea of just exposing us to things, even if it's going a little over our heads. And that's why I have the whole series, so you can go back and just kind of take it in. The third chord tone of the 5 chord needs to be raised. So usually the 5 chord in a minor scale is minor, so the 3 is raised. We can find the 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, flat 3, raise it. Okay, 5 chord is major. So far we have minor, diminished, 3 chord is augmented, 4 chord's minor, 5 chord is major, 6 chord, it's just going to be major because you have 6, 1, and 3, doesn't touch the 7. The 7th chord obviously is going to be changed, and it's an easy one to think of too. You can play the flat 7 major chord from the minor key and then just raise the root. Cool sound. And then, I'm teaching this stuff because I want you to experience what I just experienced right there. Just like, and that's fun because it's moving also, but just like hearing that in your own playing is going to be different than ever hearing it on a YouTube channel, right? So cool. And then 6 chord major, flat 6 chord major, 5 chord major. We've all heard that before, right? And so that's where that sound comes from. So I want you to really just take your time and play with that, where you go through with these shapes. And it's just so fun to hear those coming out of our own hands. 5 chord major. That's what I'm doing. I'm just playing through it. Do it however you want. If you want to strum with these voicings and you got to mute some strings to do that, I like to just kind of pluck through them and just hear them. So pleased with that weirdness. So let's go through and add the 7s. So I'll do this kind of quickly, but it's the same idea, right? So 1, 3, 5, 7 is going to be the 1 chord. 7 is in there, so 7 has to be raised. And I'm just going to give these to you. You'll see the shapes on the screen too. So this is going to be a minor triad with a major 7. This is called minor major 7. So now we know that's one of the places where this chord comes from. That's why it exists, minor major 7. What a weird chord. What a crunchy sounding chord. But that's because it naturally exists in this scale type. The 2 chord, 2, 4, 6, 1, doesn't touch the 7. It's half diminished. Okay. This 3 chord is going to have a major 7 in it. So it's major 7 sharp 5. Pretty rare chord, but it comes up sometimes in jazz tunes. Okay. The 4 chord is going to be minor 7 because we have 4, 6, 1, 3. Doesn't touch the 7. Normal minor 7. The 5 chord is dominant 7. The 6 chord is flat 6 major 7. And the 7 chord is fully diminished. This chord, which we've used in other lessons in this series. Diminished 7. That's where that comes from. So again, if you have this chord, and a lot of chords come from many sources, but if you're like, what can I play over a diminished 7 chord? And you'll hear some people say play diminished scale. That's definitely an option. But also it's the 7th chord of harmonic minor. So you could play the harmonic minor scale that it's kind of pointing to. Okay, let's go back down. Minor major 7, diminished 7, flat 6 major 7, 5 dominant 7, 4 minor 7, flat 3 major 7 sharp 5, 2 half diminished, and then minor major 7. Depending on what you're interested in and where you're at, this may or may not have some level of practicality, but I'm presenting it in this way, just this one way, just this one linear way, so you can at least be exposed to this concept at this one time, where like a long 1 string in this fashion, we can explore it. So if it's something you're interested in kind of drilling and learning, then kind of knowing it that way, it can be your reference that you can go back to and kind of remind yourself or listen for it. And from there on out, yeah, the options are endless for how we explore the fretboard and map it out everywhere, do all kinds of exercises with it. But that is a good starting point and a good introduction. I could tell you just the theory of it, but it is so important to do it yourself. So I always want to give you a way to do it yourself and a way to think of it yourself. And this is the way that I recommend. All right, that's it for this lesson. In my next one, I'm going to do the same thing through melodic minor, and it gets even weirder. And I want to just expose us to where some of these weird chords that we maybe have heard or come across sometimes, where they come from. So I'm looking forward to that and hope to see you there. Thanks so much. Take care.